I have never met a single person who goes to therapy or starts any endeavor with the intention to fail. And yes, so many people do. So many people will go to therapy, they'll start a challenge, they'll start or try something new that they've never done before, that they want to succeed at, that they want to do well at, and yet they inevitably fail. Why does that happen? Why is it so hard for us to succeed in the things that we want? And why is it so easy to fail? My name is Bianca. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a licensed mental health counselor who specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm also the co-founder and the co-host of the Evolve Ventures business and the Evolve Ventures podcast. So needless to say, I have a lot of experience with failure due to, seeking out the things that I have in my life. And from a personal level and from a business and a professional level, I've really gotten to understand why these things happen. Why is it that we fail so badly at the things that we really want to succeed in, and what the steps are to actually get out of it? How do you actually make sure that you can accomplish the things that you want and not fail? So that's what we're going to be diving into today. Why is it that so many people struggle, and what are the things you can do to ensure that you don't fail? So number one of the biggest reasons that I see people failing, and I've experienced this in my own life too, is you're surrounded by the wrong people. Now, we all know this. We've all heard the quote, yeah, you're the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I don't think enough of us understand just how significant that actually is. There was a time in my life where I was surrounded by people who would smoke weed every single day. All they did was drink on the weekends. All they wanted to do was party and have fun and, seek and chase pleasure. And I'm not that type of person, but yet I found myself doing exactly that, getting drunk all the time, feeling miserable about myself, hating myself, feeling empty, feeling hopeless, feeling completely and utterly worthless. And it wasn't even because I enjoyed doing these things, it was because I was doing things that were so far out of alignment for me, because of the people that I was surrounded around, because of the people that I allowed into my life, and because honestly I was a coward. I wasn't courageous enough to be able to say, this doesn't feel right for me. I don't want to do this. I can't tell you guys how many of my clients will end up quitting therapy because their partner is uncomfortable with the changes that they're making. Because nobody in their life is doing the work too, and they feel like the odd one out, and they don't want to stick out. They don't want to be the only one. They don't want to be the one, quote unquote, causing problems because they're trying to change, and so they want the people in their life to change. And because the people in their life don't want to change, they point at my client and they say, no, you're the problem. Why are you trying to start issues where none existed? Oh, you're in therapy now. You think you're so woke. I can't tell you how many of my clients have quit therapy, have started re-engaging in really destructive habits like drug use and alcohol use and overeating and all of these really bad habits, not because they couldn't do the work, not because they weren't capable, but because they were surrounded by people who were so intimidated by this person getting better that they had to drag them down. This is hands down the number one thing that gets in the way of succeeding. And so if you want to be able to actually achieve your goals, to actually, let's say you do want to go to therapy, to actually have a really amazing therapy experience, you have to be ultra, ultra mindful and critical of who you are spending your time with, and limiting, I'm not saying eliminate, but limiting the amount of time that you are spending with people who don't share the same goals as you, who don't share the same values as you, or who have the potential to drag you down. Because when you're the only one trying to succeed and the people around you feel intimidated by that, they will try to drag you down. Not because they want to see you fail, not because they don't love you, but because they're so insecure or they're intimidated by you changing, because they don't want you to change, that they will unconsciously sabotage you. And because you love them and because you want to be in their life, you will allow them to. And you'll stop doing the things that you need to do. This brings us to number 2. Not surrounding yourself with good people and not investing in good people. These two kind of go hand in hand with each other, but they're also very separate. You can make sure that you're not surrounded by bad people, but you also can't be alone. No one is an island. I think that's the quote. No one is an island. You can't, I don't know if that's the quote, but it is now. You can't succeed on your own. You have to be around people with similar goals, similar aspirations, similar visions, ideas, hopes, whatever, to you. And I know not everybody has access to friends and peers who are like that, but what about mentors? What about videos? What about books? What about podcasts? That's one of the biggest reasons why I started this, because this is exactly what I needed back in the day when I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anyone to turn to. My entire life, I was always seeking out guides and trying to seek out people who knew better than me. Now, granted, I always chose the wrong people, and that's another episode of like why we choose the wrong people all the time, which I might do another video on that. But actually, if that's something you want me to do, please put that in the comments. But I was somebody who was always trying to seek that out, and unfortunately, like I said, I was always seeking out the wrong people, and so I kept making mistakes. But I always did try. I was always watching videos. I was always reading books. I was always searching for somebody who knew better than me to guide me and to help me. And eventually I got to the point where I did meet amazing people. I met people so far ahead of me that it's like I have a forever mentor. I have a forever guide. I now have friends who we might not have the same goals and the same dreams, but we have similar aspirations. We're both at least striving for more, and now we can help each other and we can be there for each other and we can hold each other accountable. If you want to succeed at anything, you have to surround yourself with people who are gonna be able to help you succeed, because trying something new is effing hard. Trying something new, it's gonna drain your willpower, it's gonna drain all of your mental faculties, it's gonna drain every ounce of energy that you have. And if you are not surrounded by the right people, and if you are surrounded by the wrong people, you are going to fail. And I've seen it time and time and time again, and I did it in my own life, so I'm speaking from firsthand experience here. It's not fun. There's nothing worse than knowing in your heart that you are capable of so much more, but not having the resources to be able to do it. And people are a resource. And I know we don't want to feel like we're using people, but if you can find a mentor, if you can find a really good therapist or a coach or somebody to guide you and somebody to help you, they get something from it too. Or you can offer them something in return, right? So like offer to take someone to lunch, offer to do an exchange, a consensual, adaptive exchange. Make sure that you're giving yourself chances and opportunities, because that is hands down the second reason. I mean, for me it was the first reason, but it's one of the biggest things that's going to actually make sure you can achieve things. When I finally got around good people, my entire life changed. I went from this really scared, really insecure, really naive, completely incompetent and not confident shell of a human being who basically let anyone do anything to her because she just wished that someone would give her attention, to the woman that I am today, which is somebody who helps people all over the world through therapy, through podcasting, through speaking, through the business that I helped start, through things like this. I get to help people all over the world make really amazing changes in their life. And it was because I removed the wrong people, or I at least limited the amount of time that I spent with them. And I invested in really, really amazing people. At first it was books, at first it was watching movies, at first it was YouTube, at first it was, searching for mentors, even though they were always the wrong ones. But I did that enough times and I failed enough times that I was actually able to find them. And do you know why I eventually found them and why I eventually was able to keep them in my life? It's because of number 3. Number 3 being, I admitted my weaknesses. This is something that almost every single one of my clients struggle with. I think this is something we as human beings struggle with, but the clients who succeed are the ones who muster up the courage basically to allow themselves to do this. And this is exactly what I did. I got to a point where it was like, I can either keep pretending I'm better than I am, and I can keep trying to make these people think that I'm this amazing thing that I'm not, or I can be honest and I can say, I'm really not that great. I'm really struggling with this. I'm really having a hard time with this. I feel really insecure about this. Can you help me? How do I do this? How do I make this better? I just started asking questions. I adopted this really significant level of humility that made these people want to work with me. It made these people want to coach me. It made these friends of mine want to help me, because I wasn't as afraid anymore to say where I was struggling. So many of us, we might not have the wrong people in our life. We might have many amazing people in our life, but we won't ask for help because we have limiting beliefs that they're going to judge us. They're going to think negatively of us. We're going to be found out. I had a client tell me that the other day. She said, I really struggle going to the events that you host because I don't want you or your business partner to find me out. I'm scared that something is going to be said where I'm going to be found out. And I celebrated the hell out of her, because I was like, that's a really scary thing to admit to somebody, especially to admit to somebody that there's a level of, you kind of put your therapist or your coach on a pedestal a little bit, and you should, because they are ahead of you in that arena, and you want them to see highly of you. You want to keep getting knowledge and wisdom and help and guidance from them. And so to admit that is really scary, but I celebrated the hell out of her. And I do this with anyone who does this. And this is exactly what my mentors did for me. When I admitted my weaknesses, they actually saw higher of me. They saw me in a better light because I wasn't pretending. If someone's ahead of you, they're going to know whether or not you're pretending. Whether you say it or not, they're going to see it. And so the best thing that you can do, and I'm talking about this from lived experience and from helping clients do the same, learn how to develop humility, like real humility. Admitting where your faults are, admitting where your weaknesses are, admitting where you're struggling, navigating through the negative automatic thoughts that might come up, that might get in the way. I did a video on that a couple of videos ago, so if you haven't seen that, number one, please make sure you're subscribed, and then number two, watch that video because I dive into what it is and how you can make sure that you can work through it and identify it. But these negative thoughts can corrode your mind. And if you're not surrounded by the right people, and if you're surrounded by the wrong people, these negative thoughts are just going to become more and more and more intense and more deeply rooted into your brain. And this is why nobody succeeds. These are the things that make only, I saw that statistic and it said 94% of people, no, it was 80% of people in the world set goals. Only 3% of the 80% that set goals ever actually achieve them. I could be wrong about that 80%, but I know the 3% is correct. So only 3% of people who ever set a goal ever actually achieve it. I would bet money on the fact that it had to do with one of these three things. Now, encompassing all of this is beliefs, which again, I talk about all the time. I'm a CBT therapist. So it's in all of the videos that I put out, and I'll make future videos on this too, of how to identify a belief and what it is and why you should give a shit. But helping yourself to be able to identify these things for you, to modify these things for you, to either eliminate or improve all of these is what will take you from the current position that you're in to wherever it is that you want to go. Now, if you're like 5'4" or 5'5" and you want to be an NBA player or a WNBA player, that one, I don't think this is really going to help you. But we can navigate through what would be more aligned for you and what gets in the way, and surrounding yourself with people who can actually help you find what could be possible for you. And this is where having a therapist or having a really good coach really comes into play. So if this is something that you are struggling with, if this is something that you personally want help with, please put a message in the comments, send me a DM, Evolve with Bianca. I'm on Instagram and I'm on TikTok. You can reach out through the Evolve Ventures, that's the business that I own, the Evolve Ventures website, evolveventurestech.com. There's so many resources there available to you. But if you're somebody who knows that you need a little bit more of a nuanced help, if you're wanting to surround yourself with good people, if you're willing to start to try to admit some of these weaknesses, and if you want help removing some of these more negative people and experiences from your life, please reach out. I would absolutely love the chance to be able to help you, and I cannot wait to see you guys in future videos and in the comments. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.